However, some people would say slightly more sense. However, to his favor, we spent our years growing up in a lot of the same area. His name is Steven Silberberg. He's a computer programmer by day, and he collects air sick bags as a hobby. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
How can you argue with that type of introduction? I'll tell you.
Actually, maybe I'll use that as an epitaph on my tombstone. Programmer by day, barf bag collector by night.
The first question I have is probably one that you've heard many, many times, Steve. Why? Why?
Well, I guess the short answer is that I need attention. Collecting coins won't get you attention unless you happen to have billions of dollars of Greek and Roman coins from, the time before the Common Era. But I don't know. At first I thought, hey, this would be kind of a neat joke. Let's collect. I'm going to collect a few. But I found out that they're actually very artistic, and some of them are very beautiful.
I never really saw the artisticness of a barf bag. I mean, there are certain things that are inevitable in this life. Death, taxes, going to Walmart and getting aggravated, and throwing up. I mean, no one enjoys it. It's one of those things that, well, sometimes we bring it on ourselves and sometimes we don't. However, I don't know. It's like,
I would tell you that it's not something you enjoy.
No,
but if you've ever have you ever used an air sickness bag? Have you ever had occasion to use one?
No, I haven't, even though I've come very close.
I have found that having one that works and functions perfectly is one of life's simple pleasures. You really, I just can't even describe how. I've only thrown up once on an airplane. That was in 1987 on a TWA flight, and it was just so incredible to have something where, it would have made a huge mess if I hadn't had it, and it hadn't worked so well.
I can understand that. All you ask of an airsick bag is that it works.
Hey, that's all I ask of Windows, but it doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, that's true. Good point. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You live in Dallas now.
Yes.
Even though you're in Boston on an assignment. You grew up in the North Shore of Massachusetts, and you remember such things as the Middleton Drive-In, which a lot of our listeners remember, which is a supermarket now, which really ticks me off.
Yeah, it was a Sim's, and now you say it's a Stop and Shop or something like that.
Oh, yeah, in West Peabody, the Sim's Plaza is now a Shop and Save.
Oh, a Shop
where the theater was, but the Middleton Drive-In Theater is a Demoulas Market Basket.
Oh, well, people don't go to drive-ins anymore, and I don't know why. I wonder what the cultural bias against drive-ins is. It seems like it's great entertainment.
Well, there's one here in our listening area in Weirs Beach.
Oh, really?
Yes, and it is terrific.
And is it crowded? Do they do a good business there?
Very much so, yes.
Wow.
Four screens.
Wow.
And the food is just like you remember, because I think the building was built in like the 30s. Looks like a bomb hit it, and great hockey puck hamburgers, just like the old
just
times.
Like you remember.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing bad about it. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I actually grew up in Middlebury, Connecticut for most of my formative years, and I came to Boston to go to college. And while I was here, that's when I happened upon the first barf bag. I was flying from Boston to San Francisco, and it was one of those revelatory moments where you just go and look in the seat back, and it's almost like everything went dark around me, and a wind started blowing, and you heard the chorus of angels.
Right.
And before that, I had collected other things and decided that this, I don't know, it was just one of those things. I thought, I don't know anybody who collects these. Maybe I could be the one. I found out later that there are other collectors, but it was just something that...
As strange as that may seem, yes, there are. Interesting, I was on a flight from Manchester to Baltimore, and...
Southwest?
Yes.
Yeah.
I happen to like Southwest, especially when they toss you the peanuts. Literally, they just kind of underhand toss them. I think that's great. It's also the only airline making money now. And the bag was just plain white.
I think in the United States we have a cultural bias against putting any emphasis on throwing up or anything negative in to a consumer standpoint is something that airlines want to eradicate. At least that's what I think.
Well, it's not one of my top 10 things to do today.
Yeah, you don't want to. If you're an airline, you don't want to call attention to the fact that, hey, people get nauseous.
Well, that's true.
Although in other societies, like Scandinavian societies, they actually look at it as an avenue of expression. They say, well, we're Scandinavians. We see beauty in everything. We see art in everything. We're going to spend time designing and making this beautiful and make our passengers more comfortable.
So therefore, you could put in their advertising, if you need to do the Technicolor Dream Yawn, do it in something nice?
I guess. I wonder. I think that's what really is behind it for them. It's just a different mode of thought. Now you go to, let's say, a place like Australia, you'll find that most of the Australian bags offer some sort of film offer. So in other words, you take pictures. Their thought is you go to Australia on vacation, you take pictures, well, you put the film in the bag and send it to the processing company, and it goes directly to the processing company. And they send you back pictures of people throwing up.
Yeah, I have seen those before on some of the airlines, which actually makes sense. I mean, as the airlines scrounge for revenue, selling advertising on them might not be a bad thing.
Actually, I'm trying to get an initiative for all those blank bags out there. I'm trying to shame airlines, and it's not like I have any clout with airlines at all, but I'm actually trying to shame them or at least get them to do the right thing in terms of putting some sort of nonprofit organizational message on there, such as Save the Redwoods or Save the Whales or
Missing
Stop
Kids.
Air Pollution or whatever. Yeah, Missing Kids, anything like that. But I haven't run into a lot of success so far with that.
You know, that actually makes more sense than you think.
And there are so many travelers. Why not? It's blank space. Why not use it?
Well, that's very true. But tell me, what is it that you see in these things that the rest of us don't? I mean,
that's one of those unanswerable questions. I guess I'd have to say, what do other people see in collecting China figurines, or what is it about thimbles, or 19th century horse and buggy accoutrements? What is it that people see in it? I really don't know. I think for me, well, put it this way: if I collected stamps, I wouldn't be on the phone with you right now. I wouldn't be talking to the listening audience. I think
That's
it's
true.
a novelty, and you know what? That's part of what I see in it, is that it's kind of a novelty. One other thing I find,
Sure.
not to usurp you too much.
That's okay.
It's kind of a litmus test. If I speak with someone and they find out the dirty secret that I'm harboring, a lot of times you get the reaction of, that's disgusting, or I can't imagine why you do that, or people just don't have any feel or understanding or even get why I would do it. Other people will laugh or enjoy it or something like that. So it becomes a litmus test for people who have the same sensibilities as you.
Well, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I got to tell you, my first thought was, now there's a man I have got to get in contact with, because I mean,
I think we're kindred spirits that way.
In a way, yes. I collect Star Trek collectibles and
Really?
And casino chips.
Are casino chips really all that different from one to another?
Actually, yes. Well, obviously they need to be different so you can use them in different casinos. But some of them are metal, some of them are plastic. They come in different colors and different designs and logos and things like that.
Are they all printed with logos, or will you pretty much get any chip? Toy chips and that type of thing.
No, just the ones from the casinos themselves.
Wow.
And
do they change them up every few years so you get new logos and that type of thing?
Yes, actually, some of them do to avoid counterfeiting and things like that. Yes.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And like you, I haven't been on the space shuttle, even though you have a bag from there. You know people who are going, and you say, gee, while you're there, pick me up a couple of $1 chips.
Yeah. So I can assume that you're not a gambler per se, or maybe you are. I don't know.
I'd love to gamble. I'm just not very good at it, to be honest with you. I'm also married, and my wife doesn't approve.
Show me the person who's good at gambling, and I'd like to become their friend.
That's very true. Coming up on 9:20, we got to take a break. Our phone numbers here on the Eric Scott Show: 224-1450, From Manchester, toll-free 485-5780. From Henniker, Hillsborough, 428-1077. Steven Silverberg is our guest today. He collects barf bags, and a fascinating hobby. And we'll get into what types of ones that he has, where he gets them, and what they look like. And more things than that when we return on WKXL.
Hi, everyone. I'm Channel 5 meteorologist Mark Rosenthal. The fastest-growing resort in New England, Ragged Mountain in Danbury, New Hampshire, is bigger, better, and closer than you think. This season at Ragged Mountain Resort, you'll find skiing and riding on 220 acres of terrain, 5 new gladed trails in Spooks Gorge, 95% snowmaking, including expanded coverage in Big Rock Basin, a new snowboard and terrain park, a new tubing park, a rental shop and demo center stocked with the latest shaped skis and snowboards, a learning center for all ages complete with 5 trails, 3 lifts, and a new petting zoo. And coming soon, New Hampshire's only high-speed detachable 6-passenger chairlift. And Ragged Mountain Resort is less than 1 hour from Concord. That's right, less than 1 hour. You and your family could be riding Ragged's new 6-pack express, enjoying Ragged's 50 trails. Ragged Mountain in Danbury, New Hampshire. It's bigger and closer than you think. For more information, call 603-768-3600.
Here at WKXL, we have user-friendly phone service from Lightship. After shopping around, we chose Lightship for their incredible rates and business-savvy broadband connections to the Internet. Best of all, Lightship has real people who came to know our business as well as they know telecommunications. Now we have a Lightship consultant who helps us navigate the constantly changing telecommunications waters. Get on board with Lightship and start getting incredible savings. Connect with Lightship online at lightship.net.
From the Channel 5 Weather Center, here's the latest Capital Region forecast.
Here's what's happening in Concord today. Cloudy, chance of rain developing. It'll be near 40. Overnight, slight chance the rain will end as wet snow, followed by clearing, windy, cold weather in the 20s. And tomorrow, partly sunny and windy in the 30s. Saturday, partly sunny and mild in the 40s. And for more weather information, sign up for my free email weather by going to freeweather.com. From the Channel 5 Weather Center, I'm Mark Rosenthal for WKXL.
Thank you, Mark. 37 in clouds in Concord, 39 in Manchester, and cloudy there, too. Well, here comes the weekend. This is actually supposed to be used on Friday, but what the heck? I'm ready for the weekend to begin. I don't know about you, Eric.
Yeah, I hear that. Back once again on the Eric Scott Show on WKXL. My guest, Steven Silverberg of Dallas, Texas. Not only, actually, does the man collect barf bags, he has a website dedicated to the collection of barf bags, and that is airsicknessbags.com.
That's correct. I also have the domain barfbags.com.
Do you really?
Yeah, you don't want other unscrupulous collectors getting that.
That's true. And does that point to your site as well?
It's actually the same site, yeah. It's exactly the same.
Okay.
I mean, I'd like to say that I have such an incredible empire as to have 2 separate air sickness bag sites, but no.
And
one dedicated only to air sickness and one to seasickness and medical sickness and who knows what else.
Well, actually, that raises a good point, is you collect more than air sick bags. I mean, you've got them from planes and trains and automobiles and things like that. I mean...
Yeah, one of the things that I happen to like, more than just the actual bags from modes of transportation, are novelty items. Barf bags are a really good way of ridiculing other things and people and making a statement. So, for instance, I have a bag from the T in Boston, which the MBTA is the subway system.
They had those?
Well, the T didn't actually issue them themselves.
I didn't think so.
Back about 15 years ago, somebody issued a packet called "I Hate the Tea," and it came with a T-shirt and a barf bag, and so it was their way of saying, that, and it says on the bag, "The Boston tea makes me sick," or something like that. The Boston tea is no party. That's right. So it's a way of ridiculing the tea. So, for instance, I also have a Newt Gingrich barf bag, which is a way of saying, hey, you know what? His politics make me nauseous.
The tea is $1 now, by the way.
Yes, it is. I remember when it was back at 65 cents.
I don't remember. I think it was 75 cents, but...
maybe my memory is going.
I don't... well, that could be. Bruce, what do you remember?
I go back to 25 cents.
You go back to 25 cents.
Holy cow. Was there a
Hey, I'm not that old.
Was there a Scully Square then?
Was there a Scully Square? My father talks about Scully Square, actually.
Oh, okay.
He grew up there, actually. Now you have them from movies? You have them from record albums?
Yeah, actually, it happens to be a nice novelty for selling record albums. There's an album called Golden Throats 2.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember the first one.
Oh, you're familiar with it?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's novelty.
Why don't you tell us about it?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Why don't you tell us about it, because a lot of people may not be.
I actually don't have the album, but a lot of celebrities who you don't think of in a musical terms have decided to cut albums, such as William Shatner has a song out, and I guess Leonard Nimoy has a song out, and Nipsey Russell and some others.
I think Jack Webb was on there.
Yeah, exactly. So you wouldn't normally associate these people as musical leviathans, yet they decide to go into recording songs. Hey, Eddie Murphy would be one too, I guess, but he's not actually on the album. So in order to commemorate it, they put out a sick bag with it, so people would, I guess, so people would buy the album.
Now, interestingly enough, you have bought some of these on eBay. Further proof that if it exists, you can buy it there.
Further proof that I have no life.
Well, there's that too. I mean, you actually sit down and search eBay, type in the word barf bags, and it returns hits.
Well, have you done that with poker chips?
Casino chips?
Yes, casino chips. I'm sorry.
Yes, I have.
And how is the market there for casino chips?
For $1 chips, it's non-existent. A lot of people will sell, other chips at a discount. $100 chips and things like that.
I guess those are kind of legal tender. I mean, almost legal tender. So it would be almost like scalping in some ways.
Exactly. And while it would be nice to buy $100 chips for $90, probably because they've been stolen somewhere, right. I don't see the need for it. I only collect $1 chips.
I understand. Some of the bags, I have seen a bag go for $111. It's the max I saw for any single bag, which to me just blows me away. It certainly wasn't my bid. Typically, I'll put out a max bid of about $10 for any bag. Maybe 20 is about the most I've ever put out for a single bag, and it was just something that was very difficult to find. I believe that was for a Disneyland bag. And yes, for anyone listening, Disneyland did put out a barf bag.
On some of their rides?
Yeah, they thought they have this ride called Star Tours.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And in order to show how violent and wacky the ride was, they issued this bag. And ironically, the price on those get pushed up not necessarily by sick bag collectors, but by Disneyana freaks.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't...
So all the people out there buying Mickey dolls and everything like that go, wow, I have to have one of these. But it just, just for me, I get a chuckle out of it that, hey, Disneyland actually put out a bag. I think in the early 90s or so, they stopped, or even in the 80s, they got rid of it, thinking that it wasn't really in the Disney spirit.
Well, I can understand that, but have you rode some of those rides? Have you ever ridden Space Mountain?
I was in Disneyland and Disney World in 1978 was the last time, so I assume it's changed a little bit since then.
Have you been to Six Flags lately?
Yes.
And, they got some of those rides that warning, leave your stomach here.
Yeah. Are you an amusement park aficionado?
No, I'm not. I get motion sick.
Ah, okay.
Which means barf bags have always been one of the first things I look for when I go somewhere.
So you're not one of those people who goes and says, well, I'm going to eat a whole pizza and drink a six-pack and then go on the ride. No.
Funny story, actually. I want to get this in before the news. On another Southwest flight, you would appreciate this, actually. It only peripherally has to do with barf bags, but it's a funny story, actually. Last August, thankfully right before the terrorist attacks, I'm on a flight from Manchester to Baltimore to see some friends in Washington, and we hit some serious chop. And I usually take Dramamine. However, it puts me to sleep, and I needed to be alert when I got there, so I took the new less drowsy formula. Unfortunately, it doesn't work, so we hit the chop, and I'm getting greener by the minute. So I'm starting to hyperventilate. And, you've seen people do this. And
yeah.
You've got the bag in front of you. And I'm sweating and I'm hyperventilating, and the stewardess comes over and says, "What's the matter?" I said, "You've got to stop this plane. I think I'm dying." And I was just being sarcastic. She goes forward, tells the captain, "We have a medical emergency."
Wow.
Yeah, this is a true story. The captain radios ahead to the ground. We land. The paramedics come up onto the plane with a defibrillator, a stretcher, and the whole bit. And look, guys, I'm motion sick. Leave me alone. They put me in the thing, take me off the plane. They got the whole Rampart, this is Squad 51 bit going on. And they wouldn't let me leave until I, proved to them, look, I'm fine. And it was, just one of those stories.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's, they take that stuff very seriously.
How long did it take before they released you?
About half an hour.
And your luggage still wasn't there.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I still had to wait like 10 minutes for it after I got to the baggage carousel.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things that it was a miscommunication that kind of mushroomed.
It is, although I'm sure that these types of things are very inconvenient at times. It is nice to know that they will react for you if you truly do have a medical emergency.
Yes. Just the funny part was they didn't believe me. That was the thing, is they got me hooked up to an EKG, and I'm like, guys, I was just motion sick. Give me a little while. Give me some water. I'll be fine. And they weren't buying it.
It is kind of interesting, though. I mean, you were so sick that, you're saying, hey, we got to stop the plane. And, what do? I mean, what can they do, really?
Well, yeah,
Except
they can't
land earlier.
Right. I mean, they can't stop the plane. I would have felt bad had they landed in an alternate airport.
Yeah, typically what they what they can do is they can change their altitude a little bit if they get clearance. So if they're at 30,000, they can bring it down to 27 or go up to 33 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if they did that or not. I was too sick to care.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it was also a plain white bag.
Well, actually, Southwest does have a bag. They are plain white on the flights, but a few years ago when they were trying to get people to apply for jobs there, they had these special bags printed up that said "sick of your job" on one side, and then on the other side it had a little blurb for how Southwest Airlines is a great airline and everything. It's actually quite a nice bag.
And I assume you have one.
Yes, I do.
I'm not surprised. We'll talk about some of the ones you have when we come back. Bruce Lavoie standing by in the newsroom while Bob Lippman is in sunny Florida. Friday on my mind. Nice touch, Bruce. Steve, we'll talk to you in a minute, okay?
Okay.
We'll be back on the Eric Scott Show on WKXL.
Here's a look at some of the stories making news in New Hampshire on a Thursday. I'm Bruce Lavoie in the WKXL newsroom. A state senator says that New Hampshire should look into whether it would be cheaper to pay some employees to use their own cars instead of providing them with state vehicles. Alton Republican Robert Boyce is asking the legislature to set up a committee to study whether the state could save money if it stopped allowing some employees to take state cars home. He said the committee also would see if it would be cheaper to get rid of the state vehicle fleet and pay some employees mileage to use their own cars on state business, or establish a motor pool where employees could sign out cars for state use. The plan comes up for a hearing next month. Parking fines in Concord have gone up as of the day before yesterday. The most common violation, an expired meter, has risen from $3 to $5. If the fine is not paid within 5 days, it increases to $15, up from $10. After 3 tickets within 30 days, your fine increases to $10 each, $15 after 8 violations, and if you get 13 or more expired meter tickets within a 30-day period, now the fine is $25. The largest increase is for parking illegally in a handicapped space, up from $25 to $100. Downtown merchants and customers had mixed reactions, some fearing the higher fines will scare more shoppers away, others saying people who are too lazy to put money in a meter deserve the higher fine. Concord's parking manager, Dave Florence, says the higher fine should improve downtown parking. The point is to deter people from parking in a 1 or 2 hour space all day, which Florence says is common practice. But meter feeding is illegal and punishable by a $10 fine. Police are investigating a traffic accident in Littleton that left one person dead. Investigators say 61-year-old Marilyn Zoltan of Bethlehem died after being hit by a van as she crossed Main Street in a crosswalk. 62-year-old Raymond Zoltan is being treated at Littleton Hospital. A former associate pastor of a Raymond church is being held on $100,000 bail on 2 misdemeanor sexual assault counts. 37-year-old Michael Cranford was arraigned in Auburn District Court for assaulting a 14-year-old boy in 1996 before he was hired by the New Life Assembly of God Church. Police said Cranford also was a volunteer member of the Candia Fire Department, serving as its chaplain. The former welfare commissioner in Manchester is suing the city, saying the mayor and police violated her rights and conspired against her by barring her from her office last year. Susan LaFond also claims Mayor Robert Baines intentionally caused her emotional distress. WKXL Sports tonight will feature the Sports Zone at 6, live from the Lundholm Gym at UNH. At 6:45 tonight, the Hartford Hawks and the Wildcats of New Hampshire will be playing college basketball, and Stanford and UCLA will play in the Pac-10 at 10:15 tonight. Next news from CBS at the top of the hour. I'm Bruce Lavoie.
The weather is brought to you by Lightship Telecom, the business-savvy telecommunications company dedicated to serving northern New England. Connect with Lightship at lightship.net.
Good morning, everyone. Is my forecast for Concord for today. It's mostly cloudy. Chance of rain this afternoon near 40. Slight chance it'll end as a little snow or sleet tonight, then skies will clear. It'll be windy in the 20s. Tomorrow, partly sunny, windy in the 30s. Saturday, partly sunny in the 40s. A lot of mild weather coming in for the weekend, straight on to the middle portion of next week. And for more weather information, sign up for my free email weather by going to freeweather.com. From the Channel 5 Weather Center, I'm Mark Rosenthal for WKXL.
Thank you, Mark. Outside our studios, cloudy skies, 37 degrees. Let's go back into Studio A, and here's Eric.
Hanging out in historic Studio A. I had a guest the other day ask me what historic meant. That means there's an inch of dust all over everything. Here we are at WKXL, Master Control. My guest today from Boston, Steven Silberberg. Actually, he's from Dallas, but he's in Boston this week. You're on assignment, right?
Yeah. Actually, I got to go move my car because they raised the meter rates here.
Do you need to do that, like, now?
No, that's okay.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. Tell me about your trophy prize, your space shuttle bag.
Yes, I have a bag from the space shuttle.
Where does one get one of those?
Well, back in the mid-'80s, I wrote away to NASA trying to obtain one, and there was the time when there was a great Red Scare of communism, so they refused to send me a bag because it was a national secret or something like that.
Did they send you a letter saying that?
Yeah, I have a letter like that, and I don't have it up on the website, but I should put it up there.
I'll tell you, I would love to read that letter. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it was a matter of national security, because we don't want anyone else knowing how we deal with air sickness or space sickness, as the case may be.
Right, like the Russians don't have a barf bag.
That's right. That's how we'll get them.
Right.
That's how we'll win the space race.
We will be better in barf technology, you know.
Right. But
now this is an assembly, because I've seen pictures of it on your website.
Yeah, it's actually, I got it from a friend of mine who has a cousin who works for NASA. So it was one of those things where you actually have to be connected to know someone, and I just got it last year, and it's unbelievable. This bag is some kind of space-age material. It's nylon or Tyvek or probably something that's made at DuPont or one of those companies.
Right. Not your typical wax paper.
No, it's not. It's not like some of your flimsy African bags, and not to disparage African Airlines at all, but a lot of those just you don't have a lot of confidence that they will do their intended purpose. So
you really think that America has the technological lead in barf containment technology?
Well, it's actually quite an amazing bag. It's like I said, it's got this kind of material that looks like it's completely rupture-proof. It's the type of thing where you could stab it with an ice pick and it wouldn't go through, or so it seems. Not that I've actually tried this.
Thank you.
They've got a little spaceman. It's got a part number on it, and it's got an embroidered spaceman on there. And when you open it up, it's actually got a wash and dry towelette in there.
And of course, wash and dries are just the hallmark of a civilized society.
That's right.
You know?
Actually, I don't want to be name dropping brand names, but it actually is a wash and dry brand towelette in there.
Well, nothing's too good for our astronauts, you know. Now, I mean, you've got them from all over the places, and some of the places you didn't think that they would be are things like, they were handed out at movie theaters, cruise ships.
Yeah, cruise ships are very popular places for bags. Actually, medical facilities is one that I hadn't envisioned.
What do you mean by medical facilities?
Well, let's start with the most obvious case of an ambulance. There are bags that are seemingly just for ambulance use.
Really?
There are other people who have decided, there are entrepreneurs out there who have decided to put out their own version of the bag so that people can actually go to the store and buy them for their kids if they get car sick. So, for instance, you can go out and buy the Queasy Sack, or there was a company about 10 years ago called Ampec, which put out this comfort bag. They eventually went belly up. Apparently,
no pun intended.
Yeah, good point. Apparently, the demand wasn't as high as they thought. Yet there is a demand out there.
Gee, you think?
Yeah.
It's not something I would invest in. Now, there were also bags made to contain, how do we put this delicately, liquid waste?
Yeah, there are ones that double as they double as both vomit and urine containers. And on top of, you wouldn't believe it, they can be used more than once, which to me
Hello. No.
No, these actually they actually are. There actually are ones that can be used several times, and they have some sort of neutralizing chemical agent in there that hardens whatever substance in there up.
Like scooping cat litter?
Yeah, something like that.
Oy vey.
I don't mean to be too graphic, but these are things that are used in medical facilities.
Really? I mean, and these things come out in editions. I mean, airlines change their logos or whatever and decide. Somebody in corporate says, we need new barf bags to go with our redesign.
I often wonder what goes into a logo change. They have to go sweeping through everything, through safety cards. I mean, the obvious things like planes, the actual planes and advertising materials, but they got to go through safety cards, decks of playing cards, little wings they hand out, napkins, and air sickness bags. It's just amazing what they have to go through to do that.
It is, actually. I mean, I can understand they could put something constructive on an air sick bag, like a crossword puzzle.
There are a couple airlines that do that.
Really?
There's one called Maersk Air. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, and that's a Dutch airline. And on the back they have a game called X and O. It's just this big grid. So I'm not really sure how to play the game, but if you're in Holland, you probably do.
Well, there were probably Dutch instructions written on it, at least you'd hope.
That's right. And there's a Norwegian airline that has the same game on there. From Brothens is the airline.
Sounds like something you'd serve for dinner. What kills me is the people that actually put directions on these bags like you need them.
Yeah, it's amazing. Again, it all depends on. It's usually the country of origin has a certain attitude towards motion sickness. So, for instance, British Air has 13 or 15 different sets of instructions in all sorts of languages. And the obvious ones they just get wacky with them. They have Vietnamese on there, they have Farsi, they have Dongolese, Nubian, who knows what they put on there. But a good design of a good barf bag design wouldn't need any instructions. And for that, I submit to you the Finn Aviation bag. That's a Finnish airline, and on the bag is just a stylized picture of a reindeer spewing Cubist chunks.
A reindeer?
It's just a picture of a reindeer thrown up, and you know exactly what it's for. It's funny. It's self-explanatory. It's just one of my favorites.
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask you what makes a good bag. I mean, do they get points for style and for color,
really,
or for sealing technology?
You'd think that you'd think that it's all personal discretion. You know, fashion's a big personal discretion. What I like may not be what you like, may not be what someone at the Academy Awards likes.
Yeah, but Gucci barf bags? I don't know.
Well, I don't know about that, but that is interesting. I wonder if they have considered that.
Bill Blass will put his name on anything.
Good point.
No, really. I mean, what makes a good bag?
I find there are a couple different elements to it. One is design. If there's something beautiful on it, for instance, some of the Scandinavian airlines, like Swiss Air, for instance, has these big billowy cumulonimbus clouds on there, and they're done in this interesting halftone where you look at it and it's just aesthetically pleasing, and it makes you feel good. There are other cheesy designs, like there's an airline called Debonair. It's a plain white bag, but for some reason there's a purple blotch on each bag. And now I don't know if this blotch is their logo or whatever it is, but it's stamped on with a rubber stamp. So someone there said, no, we can't give them a plain bag. We need this blotch on here. That's what's going to do it for us. So that, aesthetically, you look and say, no, that's not what I want. Other types of bags I like are ones that are humorous.
Well, I could see, like, putting good jokes on a bag, you know.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I don't know of any that have jokes on there.
You know, you could have, like, Rodney Dangerfield jokes. It ain't easy being me while you're tossing up your airport overpriced lunch.
Well, there is one, Earl's World, which is a kind of a joke bag from Alaska, which has some jokes on it. So but you know, that's not your typical airline. There are, however, bags that have cartoon characters on them. So, for instance, if you went to the Emirates air sickness bag, you would see a picture of Kilroy, and they'd say chances are slim that you get sick. But yeah, it kind of gives you something to look at, and it's kind of interesting.
Right.
Although I'm not convincing the audience of that by my description.
Now, actually, something that actually ties into New Hampshire. New Hampshire has a KC-135 in-air refueling team in our National Guard, which is currently in Afghanistan. And you have a bag from the KC-135.
As a matter of fact, I do. The KC-135 bag, I think, is used in all military aircraft. It's a manila envelope, and inside there is a plastic bag with, instead of a wash and dry, they have a little piece of cellophane paper that's used as a mustache wipe.
And it's got a little comforting wording on it. Can you tell us about that?
Let's see. I think it says something like chances. I don't recall exactly what it says on there.
Don't be embarrassed about being sick.
Oh yeah, a lot of the bags are reassuring because people don't think it's manly or womanly or humanly to throw up. So yeah, it's a matter of don't be embarrassed. Even seasoned astronauts and seasoned pilots get sick, so don't feel bad about it. Be proud.
The one that really got my attention, and the one that we talked about the other day, is the Beatles bag. Like I said, I have a brother who would mortgage his wife for this.
Well, as it turns out, I have located another one. So
oh my God!
You should be able to. I have sent you an email, and you should be able to get that.
Well, I don't want his wife. I have one of my own, like his wife. But be that as it may, she lives way out of listening range. So
yeah, isn't it amazing how two brothers could want such divergent things in relationships? That's
very true, actually. But I mean, now you're not sure where this thing came from.
Yeah, I'm really not. It's the Beatles anthology bag, and it is lined much like an air sickness bag, like a regular motion sickness receptacle. It doesn't actually say Barf Bag on it anywhere, but I can't imagine why someone decided that this bag was necessary. And it's not just a regular bag, it's a lined bag. So I don't really know what the origin of it is, but it was advertised as a sick bag, and I decided, well, you know what, I might as well get one.
You know, it's funny. I thought of you last night as I was making microwave popcorn, because you get the bag and I'm sitting there watching Law and Order with my wife, and I'm like, hey, this is a lined bag. You know what you could do with this when it's empty? I mean, theoretically,
it's hermetically sealed.
Right. I mean, the technology, I guess, is the same. So maybe it was, designed to hold buttered popcorn at a reissue of Yellow Submarine.
What you'll find a lot of times differentiates the two is the closing mechanism. A lot of bags have twist tie closures. Some of them have tape closures. Some have the gripper zipper type closure. But there are others that don't have a closure at all. So
well, what good is that?
Well, you'd be surprised how many airlines have no closing mechanism nor a bottom to the bag. So you're literally left holding the bag.
No bottom?
Oh, I'm sorry. What I mean by that is they won't stand up on their own.
Oh, okay.
Whereas some bags are more lunch bag shaped that will stand up when full.
With a flat bottom.
There are others that really are, well, you can picture what that's like.
Yeah. The man, the myth, the legend, Steve Silverberg. When we come back, we'll talk about what his significant other thinks of all of this and his website. All of this when we return. Scott Show on WKXL.